Welcome to Lake Placid. We're in the Adirondack Mountains, upstate New York, as we get ready for the FIBT Viessmann Bobsleigh Two-Man World Cup, the second of our deciding runs here on this historic double Olympic track. I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Bree Schaff, the former US Olympian. We've got a great race on our hands here, Bree.
Do we ever, and we saw some action today. The track is in phenomenal condition. It is so fast and it is super slippery.
Well, Steve Holcomb ruled the North American races last season. He lies in fourth place, quarter second off the lead, but some errors he can tidy up if he's going to chase these guys down.
Oh, these guys are not quite in their typical Latvian pushing form. They're taking it a little bit easy going into this quad, but still sitting in podium position.
300s off the lead, Oscar's Melbardis. We have joint leaders, Francesco Friedrich of Germany with a young new brakeman. Epic starting, fluid drive from him, and tying him for the lead is the man from Monterey, California, Nick Cunningham for the USA.
What better way to start this season than with a tie in the first World Cup race going into the second heat on Nick Cunningham's home track. This is what he was looking for. He's hungry after the last Olympics. Casey Wickline, his brakeman, making his World Cup debut. Could be the lucky charm. They could stand in the medals. They could stand on the top step in less than an hour here in Lake Placid. So 19 sleds ran down the hill the first time this morning, and they will go in reverse order, last to fast. So first on the ice will be our Brazilians, and the last out of the shed will be Francesco Friedrich, tied to the 100th with Nick Cunningham. It'll be a tense minute or two for Cunningham as he watches the American come down.
Remember to stick around for today's.
So stay with us for all the action. 19 down to 1 here in Lake Placid.
Our second forerunner is now sliding through the Devil's Highway, making his way into curve 10, 82.
Well, any one of the top half dozen sleds covered by 2400s could be in the medals, might take a gold, but it looks as though we've got a three-horse race, including the young, sensational German. And off the back of their worst ever Olympics, the Germans need something, Bree Schaff, and this track could be the first to offer it to them.
This is a track that they typically do not enjoy coming true. It's a worker's track. And most of the German tracks, they have just a smoothness to them. It's all gliding turns. And here they've got to work like they have never done before.
Well, Brazil coming first out of the start shed. Edson Bindliati making his first ever World Cup start, but he has raced many times here in North America. Lamin Dean of Great Britain, second out of the start shed, and then the first of the Russians, Nikita Zakharov, until we get down to our final half dozen when we'll decide the medals. Top of the track here in Lake Placid, the first of our 19 sleds, the second and deciding heat, round one of the Viessmann FIBT Two-Man Bobsled World Cup. The run to Pyeongchang 2018 starts here and now. First up, Edson Bindliati of Brazil, Ordile Pisoni, his brakeman. Bindliati, a three-time Olympian, and he's the tail man in the field here.
Good. Good.
That's a great shot of brushing off the spikes. In bobsled, of course, if you're going to be running on ice, you need grip. The spikes have 4mm, hundreds of 4mm spikes in there to help you grip the ice as you accelerate this 400-pound sled.
And they're accelerating it up to speeds of just under 30 miles an hour. 5:35, the same as their first push. Fastest in the competition, 0.3 of a second quicker than the Brazilians.
And 0.3 on a track like this, there's really no way to make that up, but that's not necessarily the concern of the Brazilians. These guys, the small nations, struggle so much in sliding sports and racing. It's expensive. Equipment is really the thing that holds these guys back more so than their start.
Nice looking run so far. 1:13.2 translates to 70 miles an hour. Shoots through the chicane cleanly at 75 miles an hour.
Brazilian team has recruited some phenomenal track and field athletes. We actually got to see them test
the 30-meter sprint in FIBT school a few weeks ago, and they are flying. They are set up to make some improvements heading into Pyeongchang.
57.22 slide, 2/10 slower than their first heat for a total 1 minute 54.24. Both heats count. Total elapsed time decides the winners, the losers, and the also-rans. Well, he crossed himself before he came down, crossed himself afterwards in thanks.
That's the personality of Lake Placid. A lot of people get to the bottom and think, phew, not maybe as concerned with your run. Edson's run relatively clean. You can tell he's had a lot of time here.
Well, this track is in stunning form, and the guy with the shovel there and the other track workers under Tony Carlino, the track boss here, they had a full week of competition with luge last week, a full week with bobsleigh this week, and a heavy snow week this week. Those guys have worked some superhuman hours, and this track is in A1 condition. Next up, Lamindine of Great Britain, Jordan Smallin behind him, new brakeman to the program, first World Cup start today. Lamindine, his day job, guarding Her Majesty the Queen.
Smallin was smiling after the first run. What a great way to compete. I mean, in bobsled, you get to travel the world, professional sleigh riding. You're sitting in a start house with, say, 19, 20 different countries, and everyone, they've known each other. Lemon's been, actually, we started in the same bob school here in Lake Placid in 2007, and you become such good friends. It's such an incredible life experience.
The familiar sound of the sled rattling down the concrete canal. He's in the green, which means he's in front of the Brazilians. He has an advantage after the first heat, 114.5 kilometers an hour, 71.2 miles an hour. Better speed as well.
Ooh, that is one of the better chicanes we've seen. He almost needed that tap, though, to set him up for 17. He would have gone in late there.
He's over a second clear of the Brazilians. It's a much better second run for Lamindine. He takes the lead at the line for Great Britain.
Downtime.
It's pretty impressive to cut time out on your second heat.
Well, his first run, 56.64. That's a 56.32. 3200's very nearly a third of a second. That's a lot of tidy up. Now that could see him maybe climb a spot or two in the finishing order.
Sliding off at 12, hitting the take on into 13. That's a very typical line. We're not going to judge that because 13 is a non-event. But when you come into 14, this is where you are rolling the dice. It takes such a light touch coming out of that turn. You want a little bit of pressure to hold you right. Now he's headed late into 17 because he didn't get that tap.
On the right, Lamindine. On the left, Jordan Smallin. They're in the leader's box, but for how long? Nikita Zakharov of Russia is at the top of the track. Yuri Chubakov, his brakeman, ready to take their second run. Heat 2 of the FIBT two-man bobsleigh World Cup opener. And this is Nikita Zakharov of Russia. Yuri Chubakov, a new young brakeman in the squad.
Martin, I hate to say it, but we might not be talking about this team for very long. The Russian program, they have their best Olympic champion brakeman from their four-man team learning to drive now. And I got the chance to coach them in an FIBT school a few weeks ago, and I tell you, they're coached by Jānis Minins, one of the famous Latvian drivers, and they are gonna be a force to be reckoned with.
Zakharov and his teammate Alex Sturmev have been in and out of World Cup action at the top flight, out more often than in for the last 4 or 5 years. I don't see them being in Korea. I see the new breed hot on their heels. They're really marking time, I think, for Russia in the fallout after Alexander Zubkov, the double gold medalist in Sochi, left. It's going to be very close to Lamindine. He may just hold on. He does. Wow, he nearly gave it away.
Pierre Luder's not impressed.
Yeah.
He may not make it to next week, actually.
He had a 1500s advantage after the first heat. He very nearly blew the lot.
That could be his wave goodbye. Coming out of 14, he's got a little bit too much pressure. You want to grab a little bit, you let the sled fly in, and you just touch those D-rings, created too much pressure, which caused him to hit left, actually.
Well, plenty to think about. I imagine he'll move on to Calgary next week, round 2 of the World Cup, but he may not be the number 3 guy in Europe. We've just left Sochi in Russia, our next Winter Olympic destination, Pyeongchang, Korea 2018. Over 1,000 days till then, but we are already heading down to that fast with the Korean program. This is Dong-Young Kim, the second of their drivers. Yeonjin Suk behind him. Now, Brishaf, you'll have seen a lot of these guys in North American tracks because they have spent all their time training up in Canada and in the USA, so they're familiar with this ice here in Lake Placid.
They are well suited to this track. They know this size. They've competed quite a bit on America's Cup, but something that they're going to have to contend with over the next 4 years is home track pressure. Wow, is that when a country is riding on your shoulders? We saw how well the Russians handled it in Sochi. Clearly, it worked out well for them. But when you're trying to come back, you can see they're already 500s behind. When you are trying to be a small nation coming on to a tour that's dominated by such big countries, well, they're gonna have their work cut out for him.
Yes, they are. He was only 100th in front of Nikita Zakharov of Russia after the first heat. He's given that away, and a little bit more. Speed's not as fast as the Russians. 121, 75.3 miles an hour.
We just saw him wiping on a curve 17. This is a pretty sloppy run.
And
this is, oh.
Dropping to the back of the field. He's going to third spot as he gets to the line.
It might not have looked like a big problem, but when you have all those little mistakes, they accumulate, and then your downtime ends up so much slower.
So Kim of Korea drops to third place. He's in front of the Brazilians, but that means Lamindine is still second. Nikita Zakharov of Russia leads.
It's almost like he's got shocks on the sled. You see the heads bouncing, the bunks bouncing. You're not supposed to have any absorption, but wow, when you're dropping runners like that, it is brutal on the brakeman.
So we've seen some fairly close runs in the lower order as well as right at the top of the field. We're now in the snakes and ladders division where you can go up just as easily as you can go down. Next is our second Russian, Alexei Stulnev. Nikolai Nedzidov is his brakeman, and there's your current leader on the right, Nikita Zakharov with Yuri Chubakov, his brakeman. Russia leads here in Lake Placid. Russia at the line as well. Alexei Stulnev, Nikolai Zedilov. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me, US Olympian Bree Schaff. Bree, the driver taking a long while to get in and get settled into the first turn.
It's threading a rabbit hole. If you look inside a bobsled, the amount of space that the driver has in order to get his feet in there, get down, get settled, get the push bar down, it is not easy. But when you have fight or flight going and it's all or nothing and getting in that sled, you make it work.
He's in the red, which means he is behind on elapsed time. Both runs count. He had a slender advantage of 500s over teammate Nikita Zakharov, our current leader. That has evaporated.
And great line out of 12 there. You're going to see it look like it floating. It's not. 12 is such a tricky turn. Big skid going into 17. Pull the brakes. There's no way he's coming out of the red now.
Park it and go shopping. 3,400s back from 500s up in the first heat. Disaster for Alexei Stulnev. Well, Nikita Zakharov on the right remains the leader. Pierre Luders with a wry smile. I'm not sure they're going to see him smile too much in the debrief. Don't forget, four-man racing tomorrow as well. These guys will be back in action. They've only had half a dozen trips down in training, so they're learning all the time. Men and women's skeleton, women's bobsled coming up as well.
And just barely making it through there. He takes a tap, little tap, and then the problem is, if you have no pressure, the sled has no stability, so you lose the back end.
Nikita Zakharov, the race leader from Lamindine of Great Britain, and Kim of Korea lies in third. Chris Spring, Canada's #1 last season, lying in 14th place. Really disappointing first run for the Springer and his new brakeman, Alex Kopacz.
You know, he made a lot of mistakes up top. He's had so much time in Lake Placid that he can bring this back. He's at 5:21 start. He could hang out in the winner's box for quite a while. He has so much experience here. Oh no, but he's going late in the 3. What doesn't look like too much of a problem is cutting a lot of ice. If you go late onto a turn, the runners dig in that much harder because you hit the pressure all at once.
Half a second up on leader Nikita Zakharov. That's all from the first heat. He's starting to creep away now. This is a much tidier looking run.
It is tidier. You can. I love that. The runner tips. To get on a turn 12, you actually have to lift the sled on. This is one of the few spots in the world that you do drive up in a bobsled because 12 is so tricky.
121.3, 75.5 miles an hour. Speeds are climbing.
Huge lead.
So how far will he climb the order? Better run from Spring. 56.03 in the first heat, 56.38 in the second heat. Slower by 35 hundredths. It looked tidier. Bree, did that mean he was working harder to control the sled there?
The tricky part about sliding sports is what might look like a good run. If you had to work too hard, the more you steer, the more you're going to slow down. It's about steering less to achieve the best lines.
Well, track ice temperature might be a little warmer, might be a little softer.
Now, run. Oh, that's great. You see the lift there as he's coming on. And then right back in the entrance, you have to catch the pressure. His experience shows there as he just gets barely too early. The bunk lifts up going on to 13. That's not a bad line, though. I'll take that any day.
Well, Canada's #1 from the pre-Olympic season. In the doldrums at the moment, Chris Spring. He has the lead of the race. But still 13 to go. Next up is Oskars Kibermanis of Latvia. The young ex-brakeman, only in his now 3rd season as a driver. And Vairis Leiboms behind him, part of this young, powerful, progressive Latvian crew.
Oh, the Latvian athlete factory. It is so much fun to watch these guys at work. It's great to watch the driver's eyes. You almost get a preview of the run. I mean, talk about a window into what's coming, and especially in Lake Placid, it tends towards fear for anyone that's not used to this track.
5:12 is the fastest start of the competition in this second heat, but not as quick as we've seen in the first.
No, and he's struggling. He tapped the wall. I mean, you can survive tapping the right wall out of 1, but any hits up top, you're killing the velocity. That advantage at the start, gone now, taking a hit out of 1.
Ooh, flop there as well. 400s over Chris Spring in the first heat. He's barely holding on to that. He was 1600s up, down to 1100s.
And really working to get over on the turn 12. Coming into Benham's Bend. You don't have a lot of pressure there. It's more ideal to take that right and left tap than lose pressure and skid the entire way down.
Little more speed than the Canadian. He will stay in front and take the lead at the bottom of the run with 12 still to go. Latvia lead in Lake Placid. Oskar Kibermanis for Latvia, our race leader then. Little rattly ride in the back seat though, I would thought.
Oh, that's Lake Placid. There are so many times when a brakeman comes here for the first time, they think they've been crashing the whole way down. They come up on 4 runners. Oh, that's bobsled. There's the tap out of 1. It doesn't look like much, but now he's got a little bit of a skid. That advantage at the start is just disappearing when you do that.
The track is now clear from the finish to start number 1.
You would think that a crash at high speed does more damage, but a rub on the wall at low speed really just rips out that speed that you have from the start. So 12 sleds remain, and we have yet to get to the money spots. Nico Walter, the youngster from Germany, at the top of the track. World Cup rookie Nico Walter with the experienced Marco Hubenbecker, 6'7" of German giant behind him. 12th in Heat 1, the former junior luge world champion and bobsleigh junior world champion.
It really begs the question, is there such thing as a rookie in Germany? These guys have been driving, they've been on a track since they were 8 years old, so when they start luge, as soon as they can start walking. So to get in a bobsled, you're taking so much more experience than the other countries coming to the sport.
Well, Valter, relatively inexperienced here in North America. When we get to Europe, he'll really hit his stride. He's in the red, he's behind Oscar Kibermanis by 1400ths of a second.
And a lot of that comes down to the start. This is a long track, and typically you would think that's time to make up for a bad start, but not here.
Good speed, 122.0, fastest we've seen in Heat 2. He's closing the gap from 1600ths down to 500ths of a second. Will he overhaul him at the line? He does! Oscar's on the left. There's a happy Christoph Lager. There's the first job all of the season.
Not seen that look in maybe a year.
Didn't see any of them in Sochi, that's for certain.
You didn't.
Nico Valter. He has the lead for Germany, but still doesn't even guarantee him a top 10 finish.
It's like a tree falling. His brakeman, we call that falling into the sled, and those handles are quite low. It's the equivalent of a clean and jerk, but when you're that tall, that's not easy. Coming out of turn 12 here, all the marks on that wall shows how difficult that turn is.
Well, there is the face of the future, Nico Valter. This is his World Cup debut. He's looking a little underawed by it all, but that was a good second run. Now then, talk about World Cup debut. Cody Basque, first trip down this track, courtesy of his granddad. He was a peewee bobsledder at age 8, still a teenager. He is now a World Cup athlete for the USA, driving this sled with Alex Harrison behind him. His debut in the World Cup.
We called him Little Cody Basque for so long, and he is little no more. 5:21 start. He had one of his best off seasons of training yet, and he actually maxed out the squat test this year coming into the US season. Oh, that skid is gonna hurt him coming into 4 and down into the Devil's Highway.
Well, what really hurts is if you overreact to it as well, but he knows his track well enough just to take the hit and get on with it.
Part of the many home track advantages is that when a mistake happens, you don't overreact, and you know less is more. You know how to just ease your way back onto the right line.
Pulling away from Nico Valter. He's looking for a top 10 spot. There'll be 10 sleds to come up.
Oh, no! You're going uphill. You can't tell through those chicanes, uphill, sideways, putting on the brakes.
Gone from 2/10 to a 10th. He might just cling on at the bottom of the heart, and he gets behind. Nico Valter leads.
Wow.
10 to go here in Lake Placid.
That goes to show how much time can be lost down in the chicane. So you take this little tap, and then if you don't have stability, any pressure coming out of 14, you lose that back end, and wow, that is all in the entrance. We couldn't see it there, but that is not normal. 17 is an odd turn. The pressure's hard to find there. And with the nose pointed down, that's more than putting on the brakes through a turn. Oh, that's tough.
Well, you know, a little tight maybe in his World Cup debut. Cody Basque lies in 3rd with 10 to go. And we still have the chance perhaps for him to move up a little. But that chicane looked good going in, looked pretty ugly coming out. And the big skid there. We've been driving around on snowy roads here for the last 4 or 5 days. There's a lot of drivers know that when the tail gets moving, it stays moving. So Cody, well, he'll move on and heads to Calgary next week. It's a 2-race weekend North American leg this year, then back home for Christmas for the Europeans and for the Americans and the Canadians. And then we'll head to Europe, where the World Championships will be February into March. So late finish for the season, 2 weeks in Winterberg, Germany. Tell you what, everywhere in Europe could do with a little bit of the snowfall they've had here in the Adirondacks. There's 18 inches, 2 foot of fresh powder out there. So all the skiers in the crew are just champing at the bit to get in amongst it.
It's gorgeous here. You couldn't ask for a more charming atmosphere in such a historic town. Just a rich Olympic history, and anyone that's up here vacationing, very fortunate to come check out this bobsled race.
Yeah, it's a great place to come, winter or summer, and as you say, twice an Olympic venue. All those venues are still around us everywhere here in the Adirondacks. Welcome back to the USA, to Lake Placid in upstate New York. We're in the Adirondack Mountains, halfway through the second and deciding heat of the season opener, the FIBT Viessmann two-man bobsled World Cup. Martin Haven, and alongside me, US Olympic driver Bree Schaff-Bree. We've just watched young Cody Basque in his first World Cup race here in Lake Placid. What do you think that feels like? His mum and dad are here, his grandparents are here, probably half the people he knew at school are here watching as well.
Oh, that's what's so great about growing up in this area, but you know he wanted more. He might be the hometown guy, but you come here to compete. He came here to get a top 10. He's going to be super frustrated, but that's also going to fuel him.
There's your leaders, brakeman Marco Hubenbecker. He'll be the tall one then, and alongside him, Nico Walter from Germany. Former junior world champion, former luge junior world champion. A lot of the skeleton team coming from luge in Germany as well. They've been plundering the luge ranks and the ski jumpers as well. Well, now then, next up, 10th after heat 1 and just 500ths off an improvement. Yoon Jung-won of Korea with Youngwo Seo behind him. Seo, the big figure on the right of your screen, is the driver who looks like a brakeman himself, but Seo, another new man to this fast improving Korean program.
I cannot wait to see this start time. They shocked us in the first run with the second fastest start time, 5:08. That's 100th faster than their first run, and having a great line out of turn 1. That is so exciting to see a small nation. Oh no, skid going into 4. That is going to hurt them. That's going to cut down on that start advantage.
That tearing noise you heard, that was us ripping up the forefoot. We looked at the Russians for big starts. We looked to the Germans for big starts. We looked to the Latvians for big starts. Now we've got to look to this Korean pair for big starts as well.
It is just so exciting. When you have a home Olympics, that's a huge advantage. And you might have, in the past, you would have never put Korea in the top 10. And to see them winning America's Cups last year and now coming out this year with these phenomenal starts, 3,400 ahead of the pace in a top 10 finish.
Well, he could push himself up towards the tail of the top half, doesn't. That is a first World Cup top 10 for Korea. That is a very big red letter day for Yoon Jung-won and Youngso Seo. That is a fantastic result. They are coming on so hard, and they're not even in their own sleds yet. They're in rented Eurotechs.
See the bunk hit the ice. That tells you how sharp turn 3 is. You are banking left, and then the back end comes out. That means that he needed to steer just a little bit longer. When you see that you lose the back end of the sled, skid sideways, kills that start velocity.
So the Koreans with the lead, 9 to go. How far will they rise? Next up is our remaining Russian hopeful, Alexander Kasyanov. He was number 2 to Alexander Zubkov, who won the double gold 2 and 4 man. He did the dream, didn't he, in Sochi? Double gold at his home Olympics and promptly posted his retirement notice. Kasyanov then holding the mantle for Russia.
Kasyanov finished in the Olympics on his home track in possibly the worst position any athlete can imagine, 4th place. 4th is gutting, and you could see the disappointment on his face at those Olympics. He's going to come out this year on fire.
Well, they're the most experienced pair, he and Maxim Makrusov, 2,600s back.
Watch his sled in these turns. He's a bit low. That means he's working too hard. Do have to work here. The beauty of Lake Placid is short transitions, work, work, work. But when you see the sled low in a turn, that means he's steering too hard and he's scrubbing speed, which is why he's in the red right now.
Decent speed, he's coming back. He's in 2nd spot into the chicane. Tap, tap, but he gets the line he needs.
He could pull it back here. This has been a pretty clean run. Oh, it's going to be close.
Going to be close. He'll be a couple of hundreds behind in 2nd place. Will he have the lead? No, 2nd by 200s.
Yeah! Called it.
Wow, that was close. The Koreans hold the lead by 200ths of a second. And they were 5, 6, 700s behind after the first heat, so they've overturned the Russian by a near 1/10 of a second.
Coming through the chicanes, tap, tap, not a big deal, sets you up. More important, he's sitting behind a Korean sled. How telling is that? A Korean sled is sitting in front of a German and a Russian sled. Times are changing.
Yes, they are. And you see the Koreans with big sponsorship from the Daewoo Group. The sleds are being built by the other major industrial powerhouse in the country, Hyundai. So names you recognize from automobile manufacture, same as BMW getting involved with the US program. Massive national interest, of course, in the Winter Games coming, and the Korean team have a lot of support.
That was a great...
Max Arndt of Germany gets his second run underway. He was lying in 8th place after the first heat, 1/10 of a second away even from the top 6 finish. For Germany's most experienced bobsledder in the World Cup at the moment, that is a disappointing first run.
It's his start in 2-man. Arndt has always had trouble with his start, so he's more of a 4-man specialist. He's just looking to minimize the damage and really warm up for the 4-man tomorrow. Taking the high line through Shady, that can be a tough turn to exit because you don't have a lot of pressure. If you build up too much, you hit the left wall and you set yourself up poorly for a tricky spot on the track.
Not as quick as the Koreans. Good exit from the chicane, but it left him on the left, getting up on the 17.
Are we going to see Korea beat 2 German sleds? No, he's bringing it back.
Could still lose it. You can lose in the final corner of the heart. Oh! And they climb the order another spot. Yeah, baby. The Koreans are having a great morning here in Lake Placid.
2 miles of ice, a dead time, 6 points for first place.
This is historic, the beginning of a quad, and we are seeing something unprecedented. And just what happens when you have that much money and support going into a program. That's a great chicane, but he takes that tap. His nose is going to be pointed away now going into turn 17. Lost time, tied the Korean sled.
Listen, this cuts both ways. The Koreans are tying Max Arndt, Germany's best driver. Max Arndt's only level with the Koreans. Now, you know, there's the change in fortunes. 2 Swiss sleds in the top 7. This is the first of the 2. Rico Peter with former Dutch bobsledder Bro van der Zijde. His former driver will see racing for Canada this season. So the Dutch Federation with perhaps more work than anybody else to do after the Sochi Winter Games. But the Swiss, well, they'll be heading home for Christmas, and then, of course, we go to St. Moritz, the only natural track remaining, and for everybody, Bree, that is a dream track to race on a dream weekend.
It's a gorgeous location, gorgeous track. You get to go to the birthplace of bobsled. It's a pretty incredible opportunity.
So Rico Peter, 2900ths off the lead, and he's around a 1/10 of a second out of the medals.
It's a pretty impressive position for Rico Peter to be in, considering his run was pretty sloppy. He had sloppy runs all week. This goes to show what a 5:14 start, a good start, and good equipment can do.
We have joint leaders, Korea and Germany. And Rico Peter will be around 500s in front of them and dropping time. He could go behind.
Now there's something to be said for letting it go, but he went late into Shady there, and you can see him peaking on the end. That indicates the late entrance, and that does create more pressure in losing more time.
He had a very narrow escape there in the first run, a little less dramatic this time, 1300s up. He's found the speed lower down the track in this Citius sled, and he will take the lead away from Korea and Germany. So, ducks his head under the cowl. There are your joint leaders. Wolfgang Stampfer on the right, the Swiss coach. And it is the lead for Rico Peter with 6 sleds still to come.
That's, you can see the relief on his face. His eyes at the start just told the story. He does not like this track. It is a track that most of the foreign countries just want to get through. You see a little lip there coming on to 12, and he makes it through just with the hitting the take on into 13.
You saw, as in the first heat, Bro van der Zande bounced out of the backseat up in the air.
He's happy to be done.
Hey, mama. 6 to go in Lake Placid. Justin Cripps of Canada with King Lascelles Brown behind him. Started his athletic bobsleigh career with Jamaica. He's raced for Monaco as well, but now back with the Canadian program. And Cripps, the most improved athlete of last year as a driver, already a World Cup winner in his rookie season.
5:10 start, 200s faster than their first run. Everyone getting the jitters out here. Uh-oh, going a little bit late into 3. That digs the runners in. You lose a lot of time that way. You saw him adjust his front tips as he was about to break into a skid.
This is a nice looking run from Cripps. Ex-brakeman last year was his debut as a driver, and boy, he came on unbelievably fast. 700s up.
What an incredible year he had last year.
Speed is good, but not outstanding.
Oh, no! You can see he was about to lace the chicane, but that's almost a worse gamble because you don't have the safety of the hit. Breaks into a skid and he's back.
He is behind. It is going to be Rico Peter of Switzerland that leads with 5 sleds to go in Lake Placid.
Justin drops into second place. Justin.
Well, that was very close, but it all went away from the chicane on down. We've seen races won and lost in the heart before now, Bree, Chaff.
Yes, we have. And when you take that gamble, oh, it's the best feeling in the world to lace that chicane, but when it doesn't work out, so coming down the middle, if he makes it through, oh, such a slim chance, but you take that little hit and everything, and you just kind of hit the brakes there.
So the Swiss lead, and there's Cripps. Every 6 months you can't recognize him because he's either looking like the wild man of the northern mountains or like he's been in civilization with a bath and hot water for the first time in 6 months. Next up then is Bert Hefty. The Swiss will lead after this sled with 4 to go. Will it be a Swiss 1-2? Will it be Bert Hefty or Rico Peter, Switzerland 2, that have the advantage? Hefty still one of the fastest pushers anywhere in the circuit. Alex Baumann behind, whatever his athleticism is, you know if you're on the back handles behind Hefty, you're working hard to stay with the man in front. Now Hefty, 1700ths off the lead, could take a top 3 medal here.
Before the Latvians stormed the scene, 5:09 start, that's again 200s faster. Before the Latvians stormed the scene, Hefty was the start to beat. He had all of the push records.
Little rattle.
He knows this track very well. He has spent a lot of time here. When he decided to get in the driver's seat, he came and sat at one of the world's most terrifying tracks here in Lake Placid.
Took a season off, paid for his own training.
What we saw there, he came up a little bit in turn 10.
Has the lead of the race. He's in front of teammate Rico Peter. Second of our heats here in Lake Placid. It's going to be a Swiss 1-2. Hefty accelerating away. He hasn't got all the advantage that his start gave him. A little bit of an untidy run. 55-56 first heat, 55-9 second heat. Nobody has been as quick on their second run as on a good first run. But it is Bert Hefty and Rico Peter of Switzerland who lead 1-2 with 4 sleds to come here in Lake Placid.
And Justin Olsen representing Team USA. We are into the top 5 sleds from run number 1.
See, he hits the take on into 13. But that's the average line. He knows what he's doing here. He's had so much time on this track.
A few hits up at the top of the track rob you of that early speed. Bert Hefty with the lead. Is it enough to put him among the medals? Starting to think it might not be. 4 sleds to go here in Lake Placid. And the first of them on the ice is the man who ruled North America with a fist of iron in 2- and 4-man last year, Stephen Holcomb of the USA, with his remaining brakeman post-Olympics, Justin Olson, behind him.
Holcomb choosing the experienced brakeman, 5:26, 300 slower than their first start. He's going to have his work cut out for him, but he is an Olympic champion. If anyone can come back from that, it's Steve Holcomb.
He's had multiple wins on this Lake Placid track. 1500s to 3100s back. That's the difference in acceleration. It's a drag race, and if you get away from the line slower than your rival, it takes a lot of ice to catch them up. 3500s back. Speed is better than the Swiss, but not by much.
He needed a bit more speed. There is some magical time you can find in the heart. He's having a better run than the first run, but he's still 3200s back. This is going to be tough to swallow for Steve Holcomb.
He's not going to catch him. He'll be a quarter second behind the Swiss at the line. Bert Hefty and Rico Pater will be 1-2. Only the 8th fastest run of the heat for Holcomb. He drops into third ahead of Canada's Justin Cripps. 3 to go.
It started at the top. He had a little bit of instability. I'm sure he chose a fatter runner today because he has that confidence, and he's one of the greatest drivers in U.S. bobsled history. But there was just no way to come back from that. He's coming out, loses the back end a little bit in turn 2, tricky. Gets on nice and early to turn 3.
He's going inside.
But again, when you have that deficit, even Stephen Holcomb himself is going to have a tough time coming back.
There's only so much Superman can manage. There's Justin Olson, the last remaining fragment of the night train crew. 3 to go in Lake Placid then. For the medals, we have Swiss 1 and Swiss 2, and then 3 sleds trying to take the lead away from them. First is Latvia's Oskars Melbardis. Dalmas Dreskins behind him. This is a very experienced duo now. It's their 4th season together. There's Bert Hefty on the right-hand side, and Alex Baumann, his brakeman. They hold the lead with 3 to go. Is Hefty going to be in the medals here to start the season? Will the Latvians, the Americans, or the Germans stay on the podium?
Hello.
I love it. This is all business for Latvia. Latvia they're phenomenally athletic. You're seeing 2 of the world's 5:07. Now they decided to step it up. They were easing into it clearly on the first race. 2 of the world's best brakemen now together in one sled.
It's only 500ths of a second difference, but it just shows intent, doesn't it? We're going to rip off the biggest start we're physically capable of. First one might have been a little nervy, a little tight. This time we're going for gold because only 300ths of a second covered the top 3 after your first heat.
He's having a clean run. Oh, okay. He brought it back. That's not too bad. Those 2 hits actually helped him out there. Otherwise, he would have broken into a skid.
Best speed we've seen in the chicane as well. 1500ths in front of Holcomb. He was 1600ths in front at the start, in front of Hefty rather. 1900s at 55.89 is a very, very good run. That's the fastest of the heats. And the Latvians lead with 2 to go.
That is an incredible start to the season, and I'm going to say this right now. These guys are going to be the team to beat this season. Only 2 notable sleds have their Olympic brakemen with them, Bert Hefty and Oskars Melbardis.
They're going to win races, they're going to win medals all season long. And the 4-man, there's even more horsepower in the back of that sled. 2 to go, tied for the lead to the 100th of a second after the first heat. The USA's Nick Cunningham, who's at the top of the track now, and Francesco Friedrich of Germany, who comes behind. So Cunningham from Monterey, California, new brakeman behind him, Casey Wickline, could begin his US Bobsleigh World Cup season, his US Bobsleigh World Cup career with a medal. Is it going to be a gold, a silver, a bronze? We're going to find out in 2 minutes.
Good. Come on, Casey!
This has been a bit of a unique preseason for the U.S. They've got so many new athletes, everyone in bobsled, 101, 5:21 start, 200 slower than their first heat. This is Nick Cunningham's home track, a little bit late into 3. Oh no, and just drifting in his skid. But these BMW sleds, they fly. He knows this track. He has a chance to bring this back out of the red and maintain his position. That's exactly what they did in the first heat. They were outstarted by the Latvians, by the Germans, and Nick drove the sled into contention. 1:14.8 is not good speed. Quarter of a second back, it's drifting away. Oh, no. That's too much there. You cannot find a quarter of a second in the heart.
1:22.9, top speed. He was fastest there, but at 1:24.5 in the first heat, but he's the quickest out of the chicane. 900s back. The Latvians move up into a guaranteed silver medal position. Whoa. What's up on the side of the sled?
They picked up a straggler on the way. It looks like
picked up
maybe
a hat. Yeah.
Oh, audience, please do not lean over the short wall.
Well, somebody lost a hat or a muffler. That'll be right down towards the end of the run. Didn't see that in the chicane, but they'll certainly have felt that. Well, now then, they could protest that there was something in the track. They could ask to go again, but they will need to go right to the top of the track and go immediately, and there'll be no juice left in the tank. Well, our guys in tape are looking to try and find the shot where it appears. My feeling is probably only on the in-run. On the way up to the finish is where lots of fans are. Meanwhile, Francesco Friedrich with Torsten Margis, another World Cup debutant brakeman. Is he going to take the gold here? 5:05, epic starting, fastest duo in the competition.
And what's more impressive is the confidence you can see. If you watch a sled, you can almost see confidence of this young German driver, and now the hopes of the German Federation on his shoulders after a brutal season last year.
Coach Christoph Langen must have been on suicide watch. Things went so badly in Sochi. We're going to get the first Yarvold of the season here. Friedrich is on the way to winning this one by a mile. 1,500ths of a second up. Best speed coming down to the chicane, and he shoots it well.
Wow. Gosh, that's a great line for someone that has not had a lot of time here. He is, like I said, his confidence just showing as he's driving.
He's the new breed. This is the new generation for Germany, and Friedrich wins the season opener. Latvia in second place, the USA in third. You cannot argue with that. Great starting and 2 top draw drives from Francesco Friedrich. Torsten Margis wins on his debut. I don't know how superstitious Friedrich is, but Margis is going to be on the back of the 2-man sled in Calgary if one of his legs has fallen off.
Yes, he will. We may as well get used to this. I think we're going to be seeing this a lot this season.
Well, that was a great start, but that was a great drive. You can push me off that fast, and I won't win a race.
No, he's a very talented driver, and what a relief for the German program.
And did you see how happy they looked? Look at that smile.
Those smiles have been absent for a little while.
And the coaches too. Big relief. There's Marco Hubenbecker. Hubi finished in 11th with Nico Walter, but this is the winning run, Brisha.
Look at that turnover. These guys nailing the track, a track that they do not know that well. Really impressive showing out of Friedrich today.
Can't win with the start, can't win with the kids, can't win with the drive. Gotta have it all. That's why he's the gold medalist.
I always say it takes a third of each, and they put it together today on the first World Cup race of a new quad.
So, drama in the final run. Francesco Friedrich leaves the rest trailing in his wake. Oskars Melbardis takes silver. Nick Cunningham, bronze for the USA to start his season, edging out the Swiss duo. Stephen Holcomb in 6th position. But from the start of his second heat, there was only one winner. Francesco Friedrich had to give it away, and he didn't. Nico Walter, the rookie, and Cody Bascu also making his debut just outside the top 10 here in Lake Placid.
Bree, it is the combination that you need. You need all the elements to be working together, and they really were in that German sled.
Oh, and at this level, you can't be missing any of that in the slightest. And we were all, one of the biggest questions today was, how did Germany handle that off season?
Well, Friedrichs went, yeah, whatever. I've got at least another 2 Olympic cycles in me. Just let me get at him. You don't want to peak too early, but if he's showing this sort of form in the first day of the 4-year cycle to Pyeongchang, you can bet that he is rounding the troops around him. He's circling the wagons around his star, making sure that he's Germany's #1 and the focus isn't diverted to anyone else. And that's the way a great team leader works.
Right, and the beauty is he's so young. That might, you know, for an older, more experienced driver, that's going to be a tough pace to set in a quad. But when you're young and, say, maybe a little bit naive, then you're just going to take it and run with it.
Well, he's won at every level. At the junior level, he's won on the Europa Cup circuit, and he's now a winner in the World Cup, the premier division of ice sliding. And the first of the season is probably not going to be the last of the season. If he doesn't win again, something very freaky is happening in the remaining 8 race weekends of the 2-man. What it also gives us is another hot favorite for the 4-man race.
Right, and that'll be interesting to see. I mean, if he's got all of Germany's best crew behind him, I mean, he might be dominating both disciplines all season long.
Yeah, Holcomb won 2 and 4 last year. It could be Friedrichs challenging to do the same again come Saturday morning when we get the 4-man contest. Don't forget, we've got men and women's skeleton coming up later this afternoon here in Lake Placid. In fact, not too much later this afternoon. Their first heat gets underway at midday local, which is 1800 Greenwich Mean Time. So beautiful conditions for sliding, and Francesco Friedrich is our points leader.
Make your way down to the tickets office. Again, Christine Lennon.
Francesco Friedrichs, the World Cup points leader, winning race 1 of the season from Oscars Melbardis and Nick Cunningham. A dead heat after the first run broken as Cunningham couldn't hold the pace of the German and slipped out of a joint lead down to 3rd position. So fascinating action, already drawing up battle lines for the rest of the season and indeed the rest of the year. And with the 4-man still to come, Friedrich is likely to be very much a factor in tomorrow's blue ribboned event as well. While here at Lake Placid, we're getting ready to hear from our top 3. Down on the deck is our man Tim Singer. Let's hear what they have to tell us.
Thank you very much.
Well, flowers are being given out. We'll give them a second here to revel in the glory. And we make our way in now in 3rd place, the USA team, piloted by Nick Cunningham, Nick and Casey. A little adventure on your way down. Tell us what happened down at the bottom of the track.
You know, you're looking out for everything. I'm paying attention to the sled, the steering, the brake, the pressures, and then I didn't think I was going to have to pay attention to stuff in the track, but, you know, I ran over a hat, got myself a new hat now, and, you know, this is something that will keep me going, keep me motivated.
Okay, well, but a great race. Nice showing, medal on their home track. Okay, 2nd place, the Latvians, Latvian, Katowice. Good run?
Yeah, it's amazing start season like this, and we are very happy, especially in Lake Placid, take a 2nd place. Yeah, we are happy. Thanks all sponsors and supporters for helping us.
Oscars and Donuts, great job. And how about this performance by the Germans, opening up the season, Francesco? And you guys, Torsten, and a first time together in a 2-man.
Yes, it was our first time in 2-man together in the World Cup. We done 2 great pushes and 2 good drives, and so we won the first race this year.
What do you think? Are you going to win the 2nd race and the 3rd race and the 4th race?
We see next week. We don't know.
Looking really good. Well, it's Germany, Latvia, and the United States, the top 3 today in Lake Placid.
Pre-shot, Tim Singer laid it down there, didn't he? Are you going to win again? Yeah, he is, but he's just too bashful to say so.
I love the simple math of 2 good pushes, 2 good drives equals a win.
We're not splitting the atom here. Push, drive, win. Francesco Friedrich takes the gold medal here in a dramatic 2-man season opener in Lake Placid. For the whole crew here, pre-chaff, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for joining us. See us next time out. Bye for now.
So a lot of fun, racing yet to come.